What's up everyone, Brian Phobos here, and today we're going to talk about the 3 biggest Bitcoin mistakes I have made. And as a bonus, we're going to talk about 3 mistakes I've seen other people make. So the first mistake that I made is, in a way, relying too much on my technical knowledge and past experience to predict certain moves in 2017. I was almost being too realistic, and I've seen a lot of people this happen to that lived through the previous boom. So let's take a look back, and I had studied all the booms and busts of Bitcoin previously, but I first got into Bitcoin in 2013, and just as kind of some background, I have a computer information systems degree. You know, I'm running full node wallets for different things, you know, doing a lot of mining, and I run Linux on the desktop, and I'm just a nerd. Just really, when it boils down to it, I'm really nerdy. So this, you know, when I first found out about Bitcoin, super awesome. Started mining a coin called Quark, and you know, caught a ride partially with that, but then it burst, and then you know, Bitcoin burst, all that kind of stuff when we lived through the nuclear winter of 2013 or 2015. So basically, knowing like some of the limitations of Bitcoin and seeing other coins come out and knowing that they were superior as far as transaction times and so forth, that made me think that kind of Bitcoin was in trouble, and there was all the scaling issues. And even in 2015, I feel like that the scaling issue should have been resolved back then, but they weren't. So then going into 2017, I understood that, you know, cost per transaction was going up. It's absolutely absurd, like kind of what's going on with that situation, and that, you know, the mempool was getting filled up at certain times. So we have all these unconfirmed transactions and all that kind of stuff. And so me looking into it, I'm like, well, man, this is going to cause a problem. And so I never took nearly as big of a position in Bitcoin as I would have if I wasn't as technical. Like if I would have found out about Bitcoin in 2016 and I had no computer background, I think that I would have been better off than finding out about it in 2013, going through this bubble burst, living through this nuclear winter, and then, you know, coming up here and just knowing the technicals. Fundamentally, Bitcoin does not work as well now as it did in 2013, which is super weird, because imagine if your cell phone from 2013 was better than your cell phone of today. That would be stupid and you'd be pissed off. So just knowing all that kind of made me think that these peaks here were potential bust points. That, oh man, it's sliding, you know, and so it dropped down here to 1900, but then it was suddenly like, oh, we're forking Bitcoin. There's going to be Bitcoin Cash. So I was like, oh, well, everybody back in, you know. So I felt like that really saved Bitcoin at that point, is having the hard fork. And then it, you know, it ran up again, and then after that, you know, it crashed. And I was thinking, man, this might be the dead cat bounce. But then suddenly it got announced that Bitcoin Gold was coming out, and SegWit with SegWit 2x didn't have 100% consensus, so it was almost looking like there was going to be a SegWit chain and a SegWit 2x chain, and there was going to be Bitcoin Gold. So it was like, okay, well, let's all pile back in. We're going to get free coins. And then this happened again when, you know, the mempool, if you see this is when Bitcoin Cash tried to take over, and the mempool was filling up, and it looked like there was going to be chain starvation, where there was actually more mining power over on Bitcoin Cash than there was over on Bitcoin. So then it was like, man, Bitcoin Cash might take over. But think about the person who's non-technical, that has their coins out on Coinbase, who knows nothing of any of this stuff. Then they can't have a nightmare about it. They can't freak out about it or make any kind of move based on it, because they don't know anything about it. They're just like, well, yeah, you just buy Bitcoin, it just keeps going up. So I almost think that in some respects, knowing too much can get a person in trouble. And I've talked to a lot of people who lived through this 2013, 2014 boom, and they also have almost became too realistic and didn't, even down here at, you know, $1,000, $2,000 levels, were like, oh, I'd be afraid to buy anything at these levels. You know, that was just the general consensus, that there's just too many scaling issues, and that this isn't going to have the legs to really go parabolic like we're seeing suddenly now. So it's always a surprise, and it's almost like, to kind of time these moves, almost like you got to be up on the news, but almost some of the people who had no knowledge of it and spilled into Coinbase ended up better off potentially. So that would be the first mistake, almost like knowing too much, being too knowledgeable about computing and how this whole thing works. And I've even seen people that get in and they buy Bitcoin. It's like, yeah, you know, blockchain's the tech, you know, blockchain's the future. And they're like, what's a blockchain? They don't know any of that. They don't know what a blockchain is. They don't know anything about Bitcoin. They barely know how to send email, or they don't know how to send email, and they're buying Bitcoin right now. So, and I don't know how high this is going, guys. It could go to 15,000, 20,000. We don't know. We're just on for the ride. So, you know, saddle up. So the second thing, my second biggest mistake, is getting too into the drama of particular projects. And this can happen if you're too vested time-wise, or maybe you don't have, and you're not diversified enough maybe with your funds to where you can kind of like check in on different projects, and maybe there's 10 different projects you're in, but maybe there's only 3. Like for instance, if someone was only in, you know, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and STEEM, or Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Monero, or something like that, they could get too hung up on the drama, you know, infighting between the devs. They could get, you know, infighting on a platform like STEEM. And that definitely happened to me with Bitcoin, because I was like, man, these developers need to get this stuff figured out. This unconfirmed transaction thing's ridiculous, you know, and there was developers leaving, you know, Bitcoin Core and all that. So having knowledge of that was like, ooh, this doesn't look good. Same thing on STEEM. There was all kinds of drama. The STEEM currency got clear up to $4 and lost 98% of its value and went clear down to 7 cents. So going through that, I went through the Bitcoin crash, went through the STEEM crash, and it's just like you mentally get invested into the project and all the drama surrounding it. So I would say for newer people, if they can kind of take a step back from the drama and be invested in maybe 10 different projects, it's going to hedge your risk a little bit more, and you might not get it like as ingrained in some of the fine details behind the founders and the developers and all that kind of stuff, and it kind of keeps you a little bit more shielded from that. So the third biggest mistake that I made was not focusing on YouTube and STEEM equally in 2016. The payouts in 2016 on STEEM were so good that in my mind, I was like, it doesn't make sense to like really focus on building the YouTube following. When I would upload videos to this particular channel, I would only do it just to like have it on STEEM, and a lot of times I wouldn't even heavily tag it. I wouldn't do all the normal things that I even do on my other channels to make the video more visible, because I was like, it doesn't matter, you know, it's going to take 1,000 views to equal $1, and just the amount of viewership this is going to get, it isn't going to make sense. Now, going through, you know, low payout times on STEEM and everything, then it's just like, well, if I would have focused more on YouTube, then I would have built these bigger followings like a guy like David Hay here. Now, I feel like his channel is a good channel, but if you look back, you know, he's got videos from like a long time ago, 6 years ago, wasn't real consistent. And then he did social media marketing kind of stuff. And then he was trying to do some travel blogging, you know, that kind of stuff, but he was trying to find his way. And then it wasn't until about 4 months ago when he hit it heavy, you know, with kind of Bitcoin related videos and started doing his show. And I like him. He does a real nice job. I feel like he comes from an IT background like myself. So I feel like he takes a level-headed approach, you know, is really able to understand the technology, and he doesn't pitch the Ponzi schemes. He actually speaks out against them. And so I like him for that. I actually am disgusted by the fact that a lot of these biggest YouTube channels, it's actually just these people who are promoting clear Ponzi schemes. And some of these guys are 100% scammers. Craig Grant, Trayvon James, those guys are legit scammers. You can look back in my videos. I made a video maybe 5 videos ago actually talking about Craig Grant and this big scam that he was running with these Nigerian scammers with his girlfriend. So I just hate to see that. They don't have the technical knowledge, and they're just out there scamming people. But David Hay, I like him. And he's got a lot of subscribers now. He's gaining a lot of subscribers, and he's got a platform that he can build off of and do the conferences and stuff like that. Now, other people who were big on STEEM, Heidi Travels, she actually did probably what I should have done. She was always getting high payouts on STEEM just from the get-go because she's hot. And she does a good job. You know, I'm not going to take anything away from her. Her crypto tips thing that she does now is it's good. She does a good job explaining things. And let's just face it, I mean, we've got all these, you know, basement dwelling crypto nerds that she's hot, they're going to want to watch her. And with her traveling and stuff like that, you know, she does a good job reviewing that stuff. But she kind of more started doing a 50-50 type situation with YouTube and STEEM. She's always going to get high payouts on STEEM, and then she's been able to build the YouTube following at the same time congruently. Now, Jerry Benefield, I feel like he's kind of did the same mistake that I did, but in the opposite manner, where he had a large YouTube following based around social media marketing and SEO and these kind of things. And that's how he mainly built his following. Then he was pitching, you know, several different cryptocurrencies, but then really focused in on Dash, had a Dash masternode, decided to sell that when Dash was around $100, and he went all in on STEEM. But that hasn't worked out as well for him, like price-wise. He's got a large following, and if he becomes a top 20 witness, you know, he's going to get about $250 a day off of being a witness. So it could work out for him. He gets good payouts. I like Jerry Benefield, but if you look back on his YouTube channel, he's getting tons and tons of hate because all he does as far as cryptocurrencies is pitch STEEM, and people just talk smack in the comments and downvote his stuff. So it's almost in a way injured his YouTube following, and the payouts on STEEM are, you know, on STEEM aren't maybe as lucrative right now as they were back in June and July. So we'll see what happens with that. It's yet to be seen. But going back to 2013, Bits Be Trippin', they had like about 10,000 subscribers, and there was like a guy named James DAngelo that had an amazing YouTube channel that really taught people a lot about cryptocurrencies. He really helped me out understanding different things about cryptography and the way Bitcoin and blockchain technology works. And he disappeared, but he had maybe like 12,000 subscribers. You're always waiting for the next James DAngelo video. You're like, man, you know, I learned so much. It was literally like getting another bachelor's degree just watching his videos. And it's sad, but he disappeared. We don't know where he is. Hopefully maybe one day he'll come back. But anyway, when I looked at this in 2013, I never posted any videos back in 2013 because I was like, it doesn't make sense. You're not going to get a big enough following. It's going to be too much time. And if it's it's $1 per 1,000 views. It's never going to make sense to build a big following in the cryptocurrency space. But then the guys that got in 2016 started building these followings. I would look at them, and I was in my mind, I'm like, they don't even know what they're talking about. But you know, they started to gain these, you know, followings of maybe 5,000 or 10,000 people, and then suddenly everything just blew up. And that's why, you know, a guy like David has had such success, even though he only just started really hitting the YouTube hard 4 months ago. I was hitting STEEM hard 4 months ago, and there was good payouts. I mean, there was days where I was making $350 a day for, you know, like literally a couple weeks on in there in June, especially after the hard fork 19 happened. And, you know, I stuck to that, but in retrospect, in hindsight's 2020, obviously, I would have been better off if I would have at least went 50-50 like Heidi did, you know, or concentrate on the YouTube following too, and maybe I'd be in a more of a position like David. So going forward on the 3 mistakes that other people made was I've seen people short competing coins. Like, let's say if they like one project, they would end up shorting the competitor, which was ridiculous because cryptocurrencies as a whole, if it was to grow and surge like it has, then you're trying to get in front of a freight train. So I saw it with, like, let's say, for instance, if someone thinks Monero is better as far as anonymity with Ring CT than Dash is with the way they mix coins, then they would like short Dash and go long on Monero. And then, you know, it would be like Amazon shorting eBay or betting against eBay. It's like, well, e-commerce is going to grow in general. Why would you bet against them? Or let's say Walmart betting against Target. It's like, well, you can both coexist. You know, so anyway, I would never do that. I would never short Bitcoin, because if it goes parabolic, like we've seen like this, you can get ran over so hard it's not even funny. Another thing that I've seen, huge mistake, keeping coins on exchanges. So I have a friend that got goxed back here when Mt. Gox failed. I had another friend that later on MintPal did an exit scam. That was another exchange. He got MintPal'd. And I have another friend that got Cripsteed. There was an exchange out of Florida called Cripstee that was kind of like Bittrex. It was like an altcoin. Well, they started doing actually US dollar to Bitcoin before they exit scammed or whatever. So yeah, don't keep your coins on exchanges. The only one that I would maybe trust would be Coinbase, because they have insurance against it. And it's more like a bank. I don't know. I mean, Gemini and Kraken might be the same. They might have insurance against it. It might be kind of safe to be there, but if you don't own your keys, you don't own your coins. So I always try to keep my coins off the exchanges. And the third mistake that I've seen other people do is not taking at least trivial positions in stuff, you know, that they're looking at. So, and I've seen this happen several times where they have a little bit of money and they won't go forward even with like $100 or so, and just put that maybe in a few different little projects, you know, so at least you have some horses in the game. And, you know, I've seen it where they're just, for whatever reason, they're frozen. They won't ever take action. And I've had people, even at, let's say, Bitcoin 5,000 levels, and I was like, look, if you just have $100, I'm like, $100 can actually do a lot in the crypto markets, and just get into some of these, like split it between some of these altcoins. And I actually told a person, take the $100 and split it between EOS and Cardano. That's like a tongue twister for me. But split it between those two, and you know, these are going to be competitors to Ethereum. So anyway, that was my recommendation, and they didn't do it. And then every day they sit here and look at the prices every day and see it go up. So, and then they have FOMO, and it's like, well, they never, like, just do it, man. Just get in there. You know, like, you're going to put $100 anywhere. But anyway, they wouldn't do it. And I'm not saying you might need the $100. Like, I don't, you know, everybody's situation is different. I wouldn't want you, like, you're going to, like, miss out on a car payment. You're not going to have a car, or you're eating ramen noodles and your ribs are showing and your cheeks are sucked in and you're starving to death or something. And, you know, that $100 could help you out, like buy some food or something. I'm not saying to do that, but this particular person, the $100 wasn't going to affect their life if it went to $50, or if it went to zero, it wasn't going to affect their life. So you have to decide that for your decision. But those are the three biggest mistakes that I made, and the three biggest mistakes that I've seen other people make. Leave in the comment section below any kind of mistake you guys made, if you want to admit to it, or what mistakes you're trying to avoid. But follow me on all social media at Brian Phobos. Subscribe to me on YouTube and like the video if you guys like this. And then also Instagram and Twitter, I'm at Brian Phobos, and then on Steam it. So have a great night. See you guys later.